Parents try to protect their kids from bullying, but what if it was more covert? There are ways children can become the victims of quiet bullying. Pediatrician and author Dr. Alison Mitzner is here to break down what families need to know. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So explain to me exactly what quiet bullying is.
Right. So we know bullying and cyberbullying online through social media or text messaging is the purposeful intent to harm someone else, whether they're embarrassing them. And often, like you said, you could see it. It's insults or physical things. Quiet bullying is much more less obvious and harder to detect. It's when kids are being left out of group chats and group messages, being left out of being invited to after school activities, the social exclusion. So it is harder to prove often.
I would think that it's a real gray area because, I mean, you're not going to be a part of every group or you're not going to be invited to every birthday party or event. So where does it really kind of, start to cross the line?
Right, exactly. So even the most well-liked kids, right, aren't going to be invited to everything. So it goes back to the intent. Is it just a one-off or they weren't invited, or someone that's purposely, intentionally, repeatedly trying to harm someone else through embarrassing or trying to harm their relationship with others?
Also, when I was reading what you were talking about quiet bullying, it's sometimes hard because of the kids that are doing it. What type of kid does quiet bullying? Because it might surprise you.
Exactly. That's another reason it's really hard to prove them with evidence, because often it's the perpetrator might be really well liked and social, and they can easily talk their way out of these accusations. So it's hard to actually have the evidence that they're doing this.
So what's your course of action here? And let's start first with a parent. So your kid thinks it's happening to them. How do you help your child through something like this?
So as a parent, you really need to watch for signs and any changes in their behavior, and you know them best. But often the communication, because like we said, it's harder to detect. You can't just report it somewhere, but you want to talk to them, communicate, keep that door open and let them talk to you. Know that you're there for them, be empathetic and really validate their feelings. So you want them to know that you believe them, you understand that what they're feeling, and that you're there to help them, that your home is a safe space.
But then as a parent, what is your advice to them? How do they handle it?
Yeah, you don't want to take away their phone. Often kids are scared to talk to their parents about that because they think they'll take that. That might make them feel more isolated and less likely to share. So you want to talk to them about friendships, what a true friendship is, what bullying is. Know that tattling, they're not tattling if they talk about it with them. And just really, again, keeping that communication open so they know that they have someone to talk to who's going to help them figure this out.
What's the point where you need to address it maybe at the school or with another child's parent, or is that always a no-no in this case?
It depends. And again, if you start seeing signs, there are things that a parent can look for. If they're much more irritable, more emotional, signs of anxiety, because that we know cyberbullying can increase anxiety, you can talk to the parent, but again, you want to seek further resources. Definitely, if you see signs of depression or anxiety in your child and it's worsening, you might see their online habits change a lot. That's another thing. They might be glued to their phone or overly attached. So in those instances, you do want to talk, and again, talk to your pediatrician if you think they need further resources, and not be afraid to seek further help. So
last but not least, and I only say because I had this conversation with my own child, there are just mean people out there. There are people that are just not inclusive. How do you... I always try to tell my child, like, don't ever make someone feel the way that person's making you feel in hopes of him being a better person. How do you teach someone to deal with just mean people?
Right. Often I would say just walk away or ignore. It's for kids, even without bullying going on, it's a good thing to talk about this preventatively as far as what true friendships are, those that see your worth and bring you joy, and how friendships are going to change over their life. So it's okay to, you don't want to be like these kids and point out what's right and wrong, and they don't necessarily have to be friends with these children, even if they are popular.
Dr. Alison Mitzner, great advice. Thank you so much for talking with us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.